Red carpet photography. What is the best camera setup to shoot on the red carpet? That is the subject of today's video. I'm going to go over all of the gear that most people use to shoot on the red carpets and why we use it. Hey, what's up YouTube? This is Susie with Gemini Connect, and today we're going to talk about red carpet photography. But first, let me tell you a little bit about my channel, Gemini Connect. So it's run by myself and my partner Martin, and we are professional photographers making our way into videography. And our channel is all about the tools and the tips and tricks that you're going to need as you learn to make films. So if you're new here, please consider subscribing. So today's tip isn't really about video, it's actually about photography. Because I've been a professional photographer here in Seattle for about 10 years, and I've been doing mostly event photography and food and restaurant. But last year, almost exactly a year ago, I started doing red carpet photography professionally. And I had no idea what I was doing. So I did a lot of research, read lots of articles, saw lots of YouTube videos, and I really couldn't find a straightforward explanation about what tools do you use to shoot red carpet photos. And so this video is kind of for my past self and for anyone else thinking about shooting red carpet photography. There's a lot of tools involved, and I'm going to try to give you an explanation about what those tools are, why we use them, and what the resulting photos look like. So last year, I had the opportunity to shoot at the Sundance Film Festival, and I'm actually about to head out there tomorrow to do it for a second year. And that was my first time doing red carpet photography professionally. And like I said, I had no idea what I was doing, and this was my setup for approaching it. It was my Canon 5D Mark III, my 24 to 70 millimeter f2.8 lens, my 580 EX2 speed light, and just the little reflector thing that comes with my speed light. And this was working okay. I really came home and I did a lot of research and even asked some other photographers that I'd met out there about what setup do I need to have in place of this. And so I did a lot of trial and error, tried a lot of different tools, but I'm going to walk through some of those tools today. Now, I will preface this by saying that this setup here I would really only use for red carpet photography in particular, because you can get much better, prettier results if you use like off-camera flash. I would say for, like a step and repeat, 2 umbrellas on each side is probably your ideal lighting situation. But red carpet photographers prefer this setup for a number of reasons. First of all, we don't have control over the event setup at all. We're not allowed to bring our own lights other than whatever can fit on our cameras. And for the second reason, there's other people competing for the exact same photos. And so oftentimes you'll have other people on each side of you with this exact red carpet setup that I'm about to show you. And so if you don't have the flash capabilities to compete with that, then you're going to be the loser in all that, and you're not going to be able to get consistent photos. So red carpet photographers prefer this setup because it gives you a consistent look. And for red carpet photography in particular, it's going to depend on who your client is and what your goal is when you're shooting your photos. But for me and my purposes, I typically just need to get quick, really well lit, pretty photos very quickly in the span of a few seconds. And a lot of times I don't even edit my own work. I actually hand over my SD card to an editor who actually goes through my photos, picks out the best ones, edits them lightly, if at all, and will post them or send them directly to the client. So this setup is for getting quick in-camera JPEG photos that you don't have a lot of room to play with in post. And again, you can't bring your own external lights. So again, very specific setup. I only use this setup on red carpets. I don't use it anywhere else because there are better ways to get better lit photos. So let's start by talking about what this setup will give you if you use it on a red carpet or in any event setup. This is actually my preferred event photography setup for taking like pose photos, like when I approach people, get people to smile for a photo. In most situations, this is going to work. And again, I'm going to assume that you know about camera settings and equipment, so I'm not going to talk about my equipment or my settings here. I'm going to talk more about the logic of the flash and how that affects your images. So using this setup, you're pointing the flash up. So you're bouncing this usually off of a ceiling. And then this little card here, which comes with most professional flashes. I know the 580 EX2 has it. I think the newer top-of-the-line Canon flashes have it. But it bounces light up, and then this little thing pushes light forward. And so that ends up giving you typically a pretty good photo. The only thing is you have to have a ceiling that's relatively low, and ideally it's a white ceiling. If that ceiling is colored at all, then that's just going to make a color cast in your photos. And so this, again, works maybe 90% of the time for the standard corporate events that I do. Another thing that you can do that kind of replicates the same idea of this card here is using products like MagMod. The only problem with MagMod, and I used these for several years, but the problem is, even though they're relatively compact and relatively easy to travel with because they're silicone and you can crush them like this, they're really heavy. It puts a lot of weight on the top end of your flash, and I haven't done this, but I know some people who have actually broken the top of their flashes because this MagMod just weighs so much on it. So I've stepped away from MagMod. I don't use it so much anymore. So instead of the MagMod, I've switched over to using the Dem Flash modifier. It just attaches to the top of your flash via this Velcro, and much lighter. It actually folds flat, so you can just throw it into your bag and you can pull it out at any time. But the proper way to use it is to push this part in so that it creates a bit of a bowl here. And then when you use your bounce flash, that just pushes all the light forward onto your subject. So shout out to Presley Ann Photo for introducing me to this. I actually really loved it and bought several myself, so this is my preferred lighting modifier for most event photography situations today. The other great thing about this modifier is that if you stick it like this, you can actually go from shooting a horizontal photo like this, or you can go like this and you can shoot vertically. I actually use it a lot for corporate events. Sometimes it works on the red carpet, but it just depends on the red carpet situation. So aside from this guy, I'm going to show you the more hardcore setup that myself and most other red carpet photographers use. Besides your basics of your camera, your lens, your flash, you're also going to need a few extra things. This is a bracket by Custom Brackets. This is the RF Pro M. Actually quite expensive for what it was. I think it was a couple $100s. But of all the brackets, I actually think it's one of the more compact ones. Looks a little complicated, but it's actually quite simple. All it is you take, this is like a Manfrotto tripod mount, and you attach it to the bottom of your camera. Mount your camera into the bracket here. So when the bracket is on your camera, it looks basically like this. And so it's, yeah, again, really compact. I've looked at other brackets, but a lot of them just tend to be really huge, and they'll actually extend really high on top of the camera. And that is difficult not only because of bag space, it takes up a lot more space in your bag, but again, you're really surrounded by other photographers when you're shooting a red carpet event. And so if you have a bracket that's significantly taller than your camera, then you're going to get in someone's way. And that's not good etiquette, that's not a good way to make friends on the red carpet, and you really need to make friends on a red carpet in order to get your shots. So going for something more compact is definitely the way to go. But once this bracket is on, then we're going to need one other piece here. This is a ETL cord for Canon, and the top part just mounts directly onto the hot shoe of my flash, and then this other part goes onto the hot shoe of my flash, and then this part now attaches to the top of the bracket. This cord is definitely a little bit longer than it needs to be, so one of the easiest ways to shorten it is just to wrap it around once. And so now, if I'm shooting a horizontal image, I'm gonna shoot exactly like this. And if I need to go vertical, I just go like this. So the bracket really allows that flash to move around. And this is mostly important because horizontal images, pretty straightforward. The thing that's difficult to do well is vertical images. Being able to move your flash around like this, you can shoot a vertical image and not have a really harsh shadow on one side of your subject. If you were to keep the flash on the hot shoe of your camera and try to shoot vertically like this, you're gonna end up with a really nasty like side shadow. And that again just isn't consistent, doesn't look good. So by having a bracket like this, you can take vertical shots that are basically the same exposure and the same lighting as when you're taking horizontal shots. The other thing you're gonna need when you're on the red carpet is a battery pack. So there are several battery pack brands out there. Again, did a lot of research on this. One of the better options today is actually this Pro Pack PB960 by Godox. It's one of the cheaper battery packs, but despite being cheap, it actually works extremely well. It works as well as some of the other brands out there. Might seem a little excessive, but it's really important because when you're on a red carpet, you don't have a lot of time. So you have to make quick adjustments, you have to get your subject posed and ready for a photo, and you have to be able to just fire shots continuously. And most flashes by themselves can't do that. So you're going to end up with a lot of shots that are just black. They just don't have your flash going. So by using a battery pack like this, your flash can just fire shots continuously. So the battery pack is actually charged through this wall cable. You connect this cable here, and then this other part goes directly into the side of your flash. So when I'm on the red carpet, I usually just have this kind of draped on one side, and then my camera is here, and then when I'm shooting, it's bang, 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 and back and forth, back and forth. Another thing worth mentioning are the batteries that you should use with your speed light. Regardless of if you have this battery pack or not, flashes take up a lot of power. And I remember when I first started using flash, I went through so many AA batteries, it was ridiculous. It would be like, like an hour into a shoot and my batteries would be dead. And so I was buying tons and tons of AA batteries, and I was like, this just can't be sustainable. There's gotta be another way. And sure enough, there is. These rechargeable AA batteries are a godsend. In fact, I would actually argue that you can't do proper speed light photography without them. These AA batteries are by Panasonic One Loop. They're rechargeable, and they actually last a really long time. I can usually get through 1, even 2 events with these batteries and not lose power of my flash. So highly recommend getting these. There are other brands as well. Amazon Basics actually makes a rechargeable battery that's really, really good. A little bit cheaper even than these batteries. So just invest in rechargeable AA batteries and they'll make your life 10 times better when you're doing flash photography. And so again, this looks ridiculous and it is really heavy, but when you're on the red carpet, most of the people actually are shooting exactly like this. It's not at all unusual to have this much gear, and you really need this much gear just to get consistent photos. And again, you don't have a lot of control over the lighting situation, so this is just the best way to get consistent photos. Now, will this give you the best possible lighting ever? Absolutely not. So you have to do what you can to be able to get the shots that you need. And most people on the red carpet are used to having full flash in their face. Again, not the most ideal way to do it, and if I had any other control over the situation, I would definitely opt to have my 2 umbrellas instead. But for red carpet, these are the tools that are going to do the best for you. That's my setup for red carpet photography. Again, this is my setup and most other people shooting on the red carpet, so I definitely got this set up just by learning and by observing other photographers. Let me know if you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video, or on the red carpet.